Liverpool fans, big drama is unfolding. From a painful defeat against Wolves and criticism aimed at Mo Salah, to the intense battle for Champions League places and tough upcoming fixtures, the pressure is building on Arne Slot and his Liverpool squad. Plus, the first Merseyside derby at the new Hill Dickinson Stadium has a new date, and one Liverpool star is under fire for a costly mistake. Stay with us as we break down all the latest Liverpool news and what it means for the Reds' season ahead. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the so you never miss the biggest Liverpool updates. Liverpool's predicted Premier League points tally and battle for Champions League placed Liverpool were beaten 2-1 by Wolves on Tuesday night, and Opta predictions now tip the Reds to finish 5th on 62 points as Champions League qualification race heats up.
Liverpool were left reeling by a stoppage-time defeat to Wolves on Tuesday night. The 2-1 reverse was a squandered opportunity to, at least temporarily, climb back into the top four. Wolves' Rodrigo Gomes broke the deadlock in the 78th minute before Mohamed Salah leveled 5 minutes later. But midfielder Andre delivered a decisive strike in stoppage time, and Chelsea now have the opportunity to narrow the gap and pull level on 48 points. Liam Rosenior's team face Aston Villa tonight, Wednesday at Villa Park, as they seek to recover after their 2-1 defeat to Arsenal last weekend, following the setback at Man Utd. Opta analysts have issued a fresh prediction for how they anticipate the final table to appear on May 24th. The Reds have been tipped to finish 5th in the Premier League on 62 points, 60.97, with Manchester United predicted to conclude the campaign 3 points ahead in 4th on 65.85, despite Michael Carrick's outfit climbing above Aston Villa after their 2-1 comeback victory against Crystal Palace. They are still projected to finish 4th. A 5th-place finish could still guarantee Liverpool a Champions League berth next season. England currently sit atop UEFA's coefficient table on 113.130 points, with all 9 clubs still active in European competition. In the Champions League, Arne Slot's side have been given a 36.6% chance of winning the tournament. At the top of the table, the title race is poised to be a nail-biter, with a mere 5 points currently separating Arsenal and Manchester City. Pep Guardiola's team have a match in hand over Arsenal, with their fixture against Crystal Palace needing to be rearranged due to their Carabao Cup final clash with the Gunners later this month. Nevertheless, Arsenal are tipped to clinch the Premier League title and finish 5 points ahead of City on 82 points, 80.71. Their odds of being crowned champions stand at 83.65%, while City's are at 16.29%. Consequently, they are projected to finish second with 77.77.21, as anticipated. Arsenal are also deemed to have a 100% chance of securing a spot in the Champions League next season, with a 19-point buffer to 6th place. At the opposite end of the table, West Ham, Burnley and Wolves are predicted to face relegation. Ex-Liverpool star scolds Mo Salah for horrible moment in embarrassing Wolves defeat. Liverpool suffered a shock 2-1 defeat to Wolves on Tuesday to dent their Champions League hopes, and despite scoring, Mo Salah has been slated for his performance. Former Liverpool star Steve Nicol has picked out a horrible decision from Mo Salah which summed up the Reds' embarrassing 2-1 loss away to Wolves. Liverpool were stunned by the Premier League's worst team, who before Tuesday had only won 2 home games all season and remain rock bottom of the table. Salah, 33, did equalize for Arne Slot's side shortly after Rodrigo Gomes had given Wolves the lead in the 78th minute. But Liverpool couldn't even hold on to a draw, as Andre Gomes' stoppage-time strike deflected off Joe Gomez and nestled in the back of the net. Wolves were clinical, scoring with half of their 4 attempts. In contrast, Liverpool fired off 19 shots, with Salah's goal coming rather fortuitously, as Wolves goalkeeper Hurzeler made an error. Nicol, who enjoyed a trophy-laden 13 years at Anfield, took aim at the Egyptians' lack of involvement and highlighted one particularly poor decision which could have turned the tide at Man Utd. Speaking on ESPN, the former Liverpool defender explained, "In the final third, the decision was just horrible. The one we showed in the highlight with Mo Salah. Although he scored the goal, the goalie should have saved it and he really didn't contribute anything again all evening. I could sit here for 10 minutes and say everything that has gone wrong, but Tuesday was a microcosm of what's gone wrong all season. Per decision-making, the front three done not much at all, and defensively, you concede 2 goals from 2 shots. Salah, 33, had gone 10 Premier League games without scoring a goal for the first time in his career, having blanked in Liverpool's previous game, a 5-2 victory over West Ham on Saturday. His woes have coincided with the Reds' decline, as they bid to qualify for the Champions League next season. Nicol added, "My biggest concern is that it doesn't matter who Liverpool play against. They can lose. It's one thing to talk about big games in a season, but when your team is stepping on a field regardless of the situation and you're not sure what you're going to get, that's not a decision acceptable at a club like Liverpool. Everybody who plays against Liverpool know they're going to get a shot and probably going to score." Slot echoed Nicol's complaints about Liverpool's wasteful attack. "Same old story," the Reds boss, whose side could drop to 6th on Wednesday, bemoaned recently. "We are picking up points because many times we've scored from set pieces, but what did not change in the last 5, 6 or 7 games is that we struggle and find it very hard to score from the open play chances that we do create." Liverpool's next 5 games compared to Man Utd, Chelsea and Aston Villa. After latest twists, Liverpool missed the chance to establish itself in the Champions League places when it lost to Wolves, with Manchester United, Chelsea and Aston Villa then in action. Up first of the Champions League chasers, Liverpool squandered the chance to put pressure on its rivals when it lost 2-1 to the Premier League's bottom side, Wolves. A day later, Chelsea hammered Aston Villa with João Pedro scoring a hat-trick to turn the game around after Unai Emery's team went in front through Douglas Luiz after 2 minutes. Kicking off 45 minutes later, Manchester United lost 2-1 at Newcastle thanks to a late Hurzeler strike. Even after Jacob Ramsey was sent off in the first half, here's how each of the top 5 hopefuls' next few games match up, with Manchester United and Aston Villa on 51, and Chelsea and Liverpool on 48. Liverpool's next 5 league games: Tottenham H, Brighton Fulham H, Everton Crystal Palace H. Liverpool.com says, "At the moment, you just don't know what you're going to get from the Reds. Most of these games should result in victories, but that is far from a guarantee. There are FA Cup and Champions League fixtures to come into the equation too. But in some ways, Liverpool often looks better when it is playing frequently and is in more of a groove." Manchester United's next 5 league games: Aston Villa H, Bournemouth Leeds H, Chelsea Brentford opening parenthesis H closing parenthesis. Liverpool.com says, "With no other games aside from the Premier League, Michael Carrick's team has a major advantage. These are some tough fixtures, but the question is more about whether Liverpool can put together a run to capitalize on any slips. Even with only 1 game per week in the main, Manchester United will not be perfect, as it proved at St. James Park. Unfortunately for Liverpool, it is massively inconsistent too." Chelsea's next 5 league games: Newcastle H, Everton Man City H, Man Utd H, Brighton Liverpool.com says, "Again, there are some really tricky-looking fixtures here. You can make the case for Chelsea dropping points in any of these matches, but Liam Rosenior's men did really well at Aston Villa and sometimes look best against the better teams." Aston Villa's next 5 league games: Man Utd, West Ham H, Nottingham Forest, Sunderland H, Fulham Liverpool.com says, "Unai Emery's team is a really interesting one. It has been playing very badly lately but has some winnable games coming up. Not quite in freefall. It needs things to turn around pretty quickly to avoid plummeting down the standings." Fabian Hurzeler has a point about Arsenal, but Arne Slot will get his Liverpool wish eventually. Everton manager Fabian Hurzeler didn't hold back when criticizing Arsenal, with Liverpool head coach Arne Slot also not particularly keen on how the Premier League has changed. Arne Slot has been more than willing to speak his mind on set pieces this season. This week, when he expressed the view that the Premier League is a worse spectacle as a result of that change towards a more physical game, it was hard to disagree. Pep Guardiola hinted the following day that he felt the same way, but, amid a title battle with chief instigators Arsenal, he felt it was wise to avoid creating headlines. The Manchester City boss admitted he agreed with Slot, but kept his counsel, before Brighton manager Fabian Hurzeler went nuclear. "I will never be the type of manager who tries to win that way," the German said after his side lost to the Gunners on Wednesday. Mikel Arteta refused to be drawn on those comments, but there is no doubt that the movement towards dead balls being so important has changed the game. Liverpool did not see that coming and is playing catch-up. Arsenal looks set to win the league off the back of it. Fundamentally, Arteta believed that he couldn't beat Manchester City at their own game, so he changed the trajectory and focused on what he knew his players could come out on top in. There is a strong argument that Arsenal, with players like Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, Eberechi and Declan Rice, could actually play a much more expansive game. Only Manchester City has scored more goals from open play this season, but it has, unequivocally, gone down a different path. Arsenal is set-piece focused and clever with time wasting. But if it leads to a first Premier League title in 22 years, it will of course have been a success. In the long term, though, the set-piece obsession across the division is not here to stay. Just as under-11s teams across the country now split their centre-backs and play out from the back like a Guardiola team, the game takes note of trends and patterns, consciously or otherwise. As a result of Arsenal being successful with set-pieces and turning the Premier League into a disrupted and stunted spectacle, plus the likes of Brentford, who have been heading down this route for some time, more and more sides have got involved. Pretty much everyone else has slowly helped edge the Premier League further and further towards set-pieces by copying the trend. As a result of that creeping in, every corner or throw-in now takes 30 seconds to a minute. Let's hope the one that wins the World Cup has a great style of play, wins it by scoring open play goal after open play goal and doesn't win it for a different reason, Slot said ahead of the trip to Wolves. Even Liverpool, though, has needed to get on board with the set-piece trend to turn its results around. Arguably more by accident than design, it leads the way this calendar year for goals scored via set-pieces. In a way, if you can't beat them, join them. There is an argument that if Arsenal wins the Premier League this season, that will be vindication. If that proves to be the winning formula, shouldn't everyone try that? More likely, though, rule changes are coming. For the World Cup, a similar countdown when a goalkeeper has the ball in their hands will be applied to corners, goal kicks and throw-ins. It is possible that it is just the start, because the Premier League needs to keep itself as the best in the world, not just the most competitive, but the most enjoyable to watch. It cannot and will not allow the wrestling and the disruptive time wasting to continue. That isn't just Arsenal, far from it, but an endemic across the entire division. You can bet that at the start of next season, there will at least be a directive to clamp down on the endless preparations for set pieces and the manhandling that goes on inside the penalty area, because both things make the game worse to watch, and therefore the product less marketable. And you only have to look at the game between Aston Villa and Chelsea at Villa Park for a clear example of what matches can be like if the two sides decide to go at each other, attack, and not slow things down. Liverpool signed the likes of Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike because they are the best out there in terms of playing the game on the floor, the most entertaining and enjoyable style for spectators in the stadium and at home, and not for grappling and scrapping for things in the air. While that hasn't proven to be the case yet, soccer goes in cycles. For ultimately financial reasons, if nothing else, it is in the Premier League's interest, not just Hurzeler and Liverpool's, to turn the tide back towards matches that you actually want to watch. First, Everton versus Liverpool Merseyside derby at Hill Dickinson Stadium gets new to Teddy. First Merseyside derby between Everton and Liverpool at Hill Dickinson Stadium is one of the games selected for TV coverage in April. The first ever Merseyside derby at Hill Dickinson Stadium will take place between Everton and Liverpool at 2 p.m. on Sunday, April 19th. It has been confirmed. The Blues will host their neighbors in the 248th edition of the local skirmish next month, with the game now taking place in the rare slot of 2 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. The match, which had originally been penciled in for Saturday, April 18th, will be broadcast live on Sky Sports. The 248th meeting between the city rivals will mark a historic occasion as Everton play host to Liverpool for the first time at their brand new Hill Dickinson Stadium on the waterfront. Liverpool edged the first derby of the season at Anfield 2-1. With Ryan Gravenberch and Hugo Ekitike's first-half goals proving enough for Arne Slot's champions, despite a strike from Idrissa Gueye shortly before the hour mark back in September. The final meeting between the clubs at Goodison Park ended in a fiery circumstances, as the hosts equalized through James Tarkowski, late on to ensure a 2-2 draw before tempers flared from both sides and Slot, Curtis Jones and Abdoulaye Doucouré were sent off. Slot's Reds will also now host Fulham at 5:30 p.m. on Saturday, April 11th, originally 3 p.m., as the two clubs lock horns once more following their dramatic 2-2 draw at Craven Cottage in January. The game will be shown live on Sky Sports. Everton's two other Premier League fixtures in April, which see them travel to the capital to face Brentford and West Ham United on Saturday, April 11th and Saturday, April 25th respectively, remain 3 p.m. kickoffs. However, The fixture against the Hammers could still be changed if the hosts reach the FA Cup semi-finals. Liverpool's home clash with Crystal Palace on Saturday, April 25th also remains a 3 p.m. kickoff. Liverpool star called out for crucial mistake leading to last-minute loss. Liverpool fell to another defeat in the Premier League, this time against Wolves, with Arne Slot's men unable to prevent the game turning into an end-to-end contest at the end for a record 5th time in the Premier League this season. Liverpool conceded a stoppage time winner, this time against Wolves. But why? That is the question Arne Slot and his players have to grapple with. It was one that was put to Virgil van Dijk in the aftermath of the latest setback. With all due respect, it's Wolves away, the Liverpool captain told reporters. You scored the equalizer and you feel like you've got the momentum to push on. The fact is that it was wide open at times. Maybe we wanted to force the winner too much. By the end of the game, as has been the case so often this season, it looked like a basketball match more than a soccer game. It was so and dash to dash and having failed to create chances when it was dominating and pinning Wolves back, Liverpool had to rely on a coin toss for the direction that the points were heading. Unfortunately for Slot, this time it went against his team. Once again, it was made to pay for a slow beginning to the match, where the Wolves' defense was relatively comfortable. It wasn't just the end-to-end nature of the game that cost Liverpool, there were also individual errors. It was a mistake from Curtis Jones. He plays a ball into Alisson and Alisson's never going to get any purchase on it. The former Reds defender Stephen Warnock said on BBC Radio 5 Live. Andre looked heavy in the last 5 or so minutes, but he takes a shot and it takes a wicked deflection to loop over Alisson. Alisson himself didn't connect with the ball properly, and then he could do nothing as the shot deflected away from him. It wasn't all bad luck, though. Liverpool should never have been in that position to begin with. Based on our performance up until they scored their first goal, we deserved to go 1-0 behind. We were very poor, Van Dijk admitted. We were too slow and predictable in possession. We made the wrong decisions. We didn't concede any big chances up to that point. Defensively, we were still solid. But towards the end, when the game started to open up, any team can become dangerous, and that's what happened. Arne Slot's same old story is slowly unfolding into nightmare. Liverpool scenario. Paul Gorst assesses the situation at Anfield after a 9th defeat of the Premier League season for Liverpool. If Premier League matches lasted only 45 minutes, Liverpool would find themselves down in 9th this season. It's a statistic easily dismissed, of course, but it does at least highlight a trend under Arne Slot. Slow, even ponderous starts last season eventually came to be viewed within the prism of Liverpool figuring out their opposition, working them into the ground and eventually triumphing with their superior quality and fitness levels. It was a school of thought that carried merit given the Reds lost just 2 games before the title was secured in late April. Liverpool eventually sauntered to the title by 10 points, and those ordinary first periods, which were often followed up by much improved showings, essentially became something supporters shrug at while celebrating a 20th title. This season, however, has been a different story. In fact, to quote Slot himself at Man Utd on Tuesday night, it has become the same old story throughout this troubled and turbulent term. Liverpool have only scored in the first half of 11 of their 29 games, and they have registered more than 1 goal only 4 times. Saturday's hat-trick of corners against West Ham United was the only time. They have found the back of the net more than twice, and the Reds rank as low as 8th in expected goals XG. In the first half of fixtures, once more, Liverpool were invited by Wolves to break them down in the opening 45 minutes at Man Utd and were found wanting, creating little, with wide players Mo Salah and Cody Gakpo in particular lacking incision or invention. Both players are struggling and look pale imitations of a duo who scored a combined 39 goals last time out and 52 across all competitions. This term, the pair's total haul stands at a paltry 11 in the Premier League. Few could have predicted the nightmare season that was in store for Alexander Isak when he traded Tyneside from Merseyside on September 1, but the absence of the £125 million striker has led to an over-reliance on Hugo Ekitike due to the struggles endured by Salah and Gakpo. In Slot's system, the wide forward is king, but the Reds are getting a pauper's return right now, and despite spending fortunes to bring in the likes of Isak, Ekitike and Florian Wirtz, more pace, power and goals are needed from whoever is signed this coming summer. That much is becoming clear. But to lay the blame at the door of club legend Salah confidence shot Gakpo would be inaccurate and unfair, and the head coach's insistence on Monday that slow starts are not down to his and the team's approach is fanciful. It is not the prerogative of other teams to allow Liverpool to play through them as they wish, and Slot's protestations about the opposition's way of counteracting his strengths have come across as entitled at times. The constant referencing of low block and the endless focus on set pieces have started to sound like white noise to many, especially since 9 games have resulted in defeat. However it is achieved, Liverpool needs significantly more intensity and creativity in the early going of their games. Finishing games strongly has been just as big an issue for Liverpool. However, with the 93rd minute strike from Andre Trindade, the 5th time the Reds have lost a game thanks to a goal scored after stoppage time. It's the worst of any team in a single season in Premier League history, and when you add in that draws were recorded through late goals from Leeds United and Fulham, it's crystal clear there is a problem that cannot be placed down to simple misfortune. It is a history-making pattern for a reason. You can't compare them, argues Virgil van Dijk. Tonight it was a massive deflection. We had chances to make it 2-1 to us. I had a massive chance. Mo had the one that got intercepted. It could have gone the other way as well. At Crystal Palace and Bournemouth, the late goals came from set pieces. The others I can't even remember. We've also scored a lot of late goals ourselves this season. The fact is we lost tonight, and in my opinion that's all down to us. With all due respect to Wolves, on the slow starts themselves, Van Dijk says, it's a combination of things, playing against Wolves, who obviously sit back. Even from my position or from the stands, it's easy to analyze. But you have to try to drag them out to one side and then move it as quickly as possible to the other side to create 1v1s or runners in behind. Our decision-making was not good. That's a combination, down to us and down to Wolves. We could have created more and got into a lot more promising positions that we did tonight. That's what we have to show on Friday in the FA Cup if we want to beat them and go through in the FA Cup. Richard Hughes told £29 million transfer has failed already. Liverpool welcomed Georgi Mamardashvili to the club last summer, a star for Georgia at Euro 2024. Richard Hughes opted to sign the goalkeeper following the tournament, but he remained on loan with La Liga side Valencia for the 2024-25 season before arriving at Anfield. It's fair to say Mamardashvili has endured a frustrating spell on Merseyside thus far, not coming close to challenging Alisson Becker for his first team role. And now Al Desmark is claiming that the shot stopper's patience has run out, declaring his move to Liverpool a failure.